Welcome to this edition of the Economy and Politics Show as we continue our conversation on policy, politics, investments, and how it affects our economy. It's a Friday, so thank God it's Friday, and this Friday is August 21st, 2020. And let's give you a breakdown of what we'll be looking at today. We'll first start with the forthcoming Ondo State 2020 gubernatorial elections, the recent Bayelsa State gubernatorial ruling from the tribunal, the quest for peace in West African sub-region focusing on Mali, and the roundup of the Democratic Party presidential convention in the United States of America. Let's begin with Ondo State, and October 10th is the date for the gubernatorial elections, and activities are gearing up for that. The major contenders for this election are incumbent Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu of the All Progressive Congress, who will be going against Mr. Eyitayo Jegede of the People's Democratic Party. Apart from them, 15 other gubernatorial candidates will also be joining for the contest, and they've all been cleared by the Independent National Electoral Commission, making it a total of 17 candidates for this year's Ondo State gubernatorial election. This is one of the elections that WebTV will be monitoring and is scheduled for October 10th, 2020, like we said earlier. The elections is coming 3 weeks after the Edo gubernatorial election scheduled for September 19th, and we expect that Edo State gubernatorial election will set the precedence for this one. Now let's take you to history around Ondo State. Since 1999, the advent of the Fourth Republic, which has been the most sustainable since Nigeria's independence, we've had 4 governors in the seat of power. The first was Mr. Chief Adebayo Adefarati from 1999 to 2005 period of the Alliance for Democracy Party. We also had Chief Olusegun Agagu from 2005 period to 2012 as People's Democratic Party candidates. Dr. Olusegun Mimiko from 2012 to 2017 has been the party governor of the Labour Party and later joined the People's Democratic Party. And the current governor of the state is Mr. Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, who was also a former president of the Nigerian Bar Association and is now the governor of Ondo State. Governor Rotimi Akeredolu is looking at winning a second term in office, and a lot is at stake for this election. Will it be an upset or would it be a second term? Just like we see in Edo State, it's also the same case in Ondo, an incumbent in the government house gearing for a second term. It's going to be a very, very close contest, and all eyes are going to be on those states as we also are monitoring Edo State. Now let's look at how strategic Ondo State is as a state in Nigeria. Its total land area is 15,820 kilometers stretched across the landmass in Nigeria. It has a population of 4.96 million people. Most likely an additional estimate could be now 5 million. It's located in the southwestern region of Nigeria and has as capital Akure. Ondo State has 18 local government areas. It's an oil-producing state, one of the top 7 oil producers in Nigeria, and also a member of the Niger Delta Development Commission. So for those of us that will understand, Ondo State is also a gold mine state. In terms of solid minerals, Ondo State is well endowed. It has bitumen, it has timber, it has crude oil, it has limestone, granite, coal, and columbine amongst the major solid minerals in the state. According to the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, NIPC, in its state-by-state analysis and inventory for investors, there are following areas are where people who want to invest in Ondo State can explore. The first is agribusiness. We have light manufacturing. We have healthcare. There's also tourism, energy, mining, and logistics. Those are very important areas that investors who have interest in Ondo State can explore. So what would be the key election talking points for the Ondo gubernatorial elections coming up October 2020? The first will be the post-COVID-19 economic recovery plan. That will be the first major issue that the winner of that election must take up. Currently, we have a COVID-19 economic strategic team. The team is set up to manage the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on Ondo State, and also explore ways of funding and also supporting government's efforts to move the state forward. It's currently chaired by Mr. Kayode Falowo, who is the CEO of Greenwich Trust and also president of Nigerian British Chamber of Commerce. So the next governor will have to, whoever wins, is it Mr. Rotimi Akeredolu for a second term or Mr. Yitayo Jegede, who are the major candidates of the People's Democratic Party, whoever wins the election must rejig the post-COVID-19 economic recovery plan, because the impact of COVID-19 is still felt. As we speak, several economies across the globe are posting contractions, and of course, we're seeing the ripple effects on sectors across the globe in terms of economic sectors. So the governor who emerges October 10th or by October 11, 2020, would have to craft a very robust post-COVID-19 economic recovery plan. The second area of interest should be addressing unemployment. Currently, unemployment in Nigeria is 27.1%, and states are contributing factors to that. So Ondo State has to look at unemployment and explore three axes. First, investment in skills development, and skills development has to do with potentially equipping citizens, particularly the young people, with skills that can make them competitive. And second would be what we call a strategic empowerment initiative, where enterprises and those that have interest in business can receive intervention funds where they can tie to and operate and do their business and create wealth, which is very important. And third is the need to engage investors who can invest in critical sectors that can unlock the economy in Ondo State and improve the situation of the economy. Also of important interest will be transforming the socio-economic landscape of Ondo State. Ondo State, like its neighboring states like Osun and Ekiti, have been predominantly over the years a civil service state. So Ondo State has to now evolve from a civil service state to become a business economic hub. And when you become a business and economic hub, that means a lot of economic activities can happen. We can have industrial clusters where businesses are and can begin to receive investments. And we can also see a lot of industries and various strategic interventions in sectors that can unlock the economy. So presently, Ondo State has to quickly move up from being a predominantly known civil service state to a viable state as an economic hub. And that also entails increasing human development investments. Education and healthcare are very core here. And economists and analysts have said that Nigeria's pathway to prosperity and development as a country and competitiveness hangs on its investment, particularly in education. And so it calls for the next governor to take education investment seriously, and also improving the healthcare situation in the state. And healthcare particularly comes to the fore as the COVID-19 pandemic showed how fragile Nigeria's healthcare system is. So from healthcare infrastructure to healthcare management, and ensuring that there are more investments coming to that space, it will be a core interest for the next governor, the winner of the election, to take into cognizance. And then, of course, the digital economy will be very important. So what will be the agenda for driving a digital economy in Ondo State? And that will entail opening up the space to easing the right of way for investments in broadband, and also empowering the young people with skills in ICT, and strengthening the Science and Technology Ministry, which is very important in driving the digital economy in Ondo State. Then, of course, the public-private partnership approach is very important. Some states are already coming up with their PPP laws, which will help them engage effectively to achieve PPPs. And in this time, with revenue challenges, with burdens in terms of investments, and even budgets not being able to meet up with commitments in terms of capital expenditure, the PPP approach is very viable for states to explore. And we hope that the next governor, winner of this election, will take it seriously and create an enabler for PPPs, particularly in areas like healthcare, particularly in areas like infrastructure, particularly in areas like industrialization. And then this tends to boosting the internally generated revenue amidst the challenging macroeconomic environment that we have. IGRs are very important for states like Ondo. They have to improve their IGR levels so that they can be able to reduce dependence on the Federal Account Allocation Committee monthly funds. So that means that beyond the FAC, Ondo State has to find itself viable. And how can that be achieved? Through economic activities, which will also open up the revenue base. So more economic activities will open up opportunities for people, and that's how they can pay tax. So boosting the IGR of Ondo State should be top priority for the winner of the October 10 elections. And then comes the issue of enabling environments for attractive investments and doing business. Currently, Kaduna State is a leader among states, subnationals, when it comes to ease of doing business and opening up the space for investors. So Ondo State should target being top 3 in the next 2 or 3 years, and that should be an agenda for the governor who will emerge at the October 10 polls. And then in terms of funds and investments, the diaspora is very, very viable. And so Ondo State needs to leverage its diaspora, the rich diaspora from the US to UK to Canada to Australia to various parts of the world who are doing their best to move the state and the country forward through vehicles like the Diaspora Investment Fund. So they can engage them to tell them what they can do if they bring up their funds to the state to support development. And like analysts and experts have said, China and India are best case studies of how the diaspora have contributed to their development. China has a strong diaspora globally, and same with India. And you've seen that these are people that have continued to support their country, putting venture capital investments and also even supporting economic activities. So Ondo State will also need to leverage the Diaspora Investment Fund, which must call for transparency and accountability. And then the issue of managing a sustainable environment is very important, as we know that the globe is facing the challenge of planets that needs sustainability. So the emissions, the depletion of the ozone layer, I mean, the entire environment needs to be safe. And so those states can also assess impact investments which are looking at making impacts in the environment and can create that enabler to attract funds through areas like green bonds. We know Ondo State has a 27 billion naira bond through the capital market, but they can also create products and vehicles for bonds that can tackle issue of waste management, water sanitation, and a green environment. So those are areas that can be explored for the state. So those are areas that we believe the next governor who wins the election can explore to move the state forward. It's very important to articulate issues like this because most times we just have elections and we don't clearly hear ideologies clearly articulated. And this is where debates come in, because what makes elections very interesting are the debates. That's the best aspect of an election, where candidates come and share through televised debates how they want to move their states or the country forward. It's a culture in the US, and Nigeria is evolving. There are some states that have adopted it effectively, like Lagos State is a standard. Every gubernatorial candidate has always been involved in debates. So on those states, the last election, 2016, we saw a very interesting debate, even though the major candidate then did not join due to his campaign. So we expect that major candidates, particularly from the APC and the PDP, will this time be present to clearly articulate how they want to move Ondo State forward. Those are areas where people can watch, learn, and see how these candidates are prepared to move the state forward and make their decisions ahead of time. So we hope that a robust debate, an inclusive debate will occur before the election dates. And that's for Ondo State. Now let's move on to Bayelsa State. Bayelsa State was in the news this week. Why? Because during the week, the Bayelsa State Gubernatorial Petition Tribunal nullified the election of Governor Duoyediri of Bayelsa State. The election was nullified based on a petition by the Advanced Nigeria Democratic Party, ANDP, which argued that it was unlawfully excluded from participating in the election. The tribunal ruling can, like I say, however, be challenged at the appeal courts, and that is what Governor Duoyediri will be looking at in terms of taking up the case to address the situation. And of course, the ruling will be provided to the public in subsequent details and updates on our program, but it came as, of course, a rude shock to many. The NDP had two its governorship candidates, King Lucky George and National Chairman Charles Ogboli approached the tribunal seeking the nullification of the November 19, 2019 gubernatorial elections. The party demanded an order for fresh election on the grounds that his name and logo were excluded from the ballot papers used for the election. The counsel to the party, Kehinde Ogunwumiju, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, told the tribunal that INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, witnessed and monitored its governorship primary and that it was curious and unacceptable that the electoral body later excluded it from the election. The counsel to INEC, Ibrahim Bawa, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, told the tribunal that after examining the evidence tabled by the petitioners, the commission preferred not to call any witness. The lawyers for the People's Democratic Party, Barrister Emmanuel Noidem, and of course, Governor Diri of Bayelsa's lawyer, Gordy Uche, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, spoke along the same line, saying instead of calling witnesses, they would submit documents to the tribunal, and that is the case. So the governor will definitely make his appeal, and from there would monitor and see what happens. Bayelsa State is one of the oil-rich states in Nigeria and home to very, very sensitive and critical oil-producing zones like Ogoni, amongst others. And we'll be monitoring to see how this whole development spans out, because if it goes on, that means another election cycle will be disrupted in Bayelsa, and we just hope that everything all goes well. We'll take a breather, and when we return, we'll continue updates on developments in West Africa.
When we first met, the first question I asked was,
where have you been all my life?
Since then, we have taken every step together.
Especially when the kids were schooling abroad. Oh, how we made it through those years.
When we shared the same passion,
The same drive.
and the same vision to succeed. Let's help you achieve your visions and aspirations, milestone by milestone. FCMB, my bank and I.
Welcome back as we continue our conversation this Friday as we focus on politics and developments in Nigeria and across the world. Mali has been on the news in West Africa. Mali is a West African nation, and its capital is Bamako, a country that is also very vital to activities in the sub-region. Mali's President Boubacar Keïta was ousted by mutiny actions in the military, and he has been at the center of protests and rejection, particularly by the opposition party, who felt that it was time for him to resign over issues that could not be resolved politically. Prior to now, the special envoy to Mali, former president of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, has engaged several stakeholders and has tried to push for peace in the region. Even Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, alongside Ibrahim Yusufu and other key leaders in West Africa, had visited Mali to find ways to resolve the socio-political crisis. But of course, this week, the military waded in, and of course, the President Boubacar Keïta had to resign, and this has led to reactions, first from the Community Committee of West African States, who condemned the action and have already shut down all the land and air borders with Mali at the moment. They're calling for a release of President Boubacar Keïta, who has been arrested, alongside the Vice President and the Prime Minister. They are calling for stability in the country and have mandated former President Goodluck Jonathan of Nigeria, who's a special envoy, to return to Mali to engage all stakeholders. And let's get to the background of what really is transpiring there. Of course, we know now that ECOWAS has reacted, and the United Nations has also made its case known concerning these issues. Condemnation across international agencies and, of course, sub-regional bodies. And despite this, the military leaders are saying that they want to move on by taking an approach of a transitional government. Whether it's going to be civilian or military is not really clear. And this is a real concern to the region. So the regional body is threatening even stricter measures of trade with Mali, and you know what that means. If that happens, Malian citizens will face a lot of challenges, and it will really affect their economy. So the ECOWAS Committee of Heads of States are banking on former President Goodluck Jonathan of Nigeria to return and engage the military and all stakeholders and lead a pathway to restoring political stability in the West African nation. So far on their part, the military coup leaders have said the transitional president will be appointed and will be drawn, like I said earlier, from either the civilian population or the military. This is a huge concern, as you know that Africa has evolved over the years, and we have seen more of civilian governments than the military. So, of course, it's a concern because if we don't resolve this in Mali, we could see some trends, and that's not what West African leaders want in the sub-region. We're having more of civilian governments. And we're seeing that for Nigeria, since 1999, the Fourth Republic has been uninterrupted, and there are benefits to it. The military governance has always come with this challenge. And those of us born in the military era can share the impact of having the military in governance. So we sue for peace, and we hope that all stakeholders will agree to engage the special envoy and look at ways of quickly resolving the crisis, because Mali is important to West Africa, important to Africa, and peace and stability is key to its development and sustainability as a nation. As you all know, the biggest economy in the world and, of course, the most dynamic and robust democracy in the world is on the pathway for another election cycle. And the Democratic Party has concluded its convention that started during the week. And, of course, the presidential candidate of the Democratic Party, Senator Joe Biden, in his speech earlier this morning, pledged to lead the United States of America to the path of justice, equity, and fairness if voted into office at the November 3rd elections. Speaking at the end of the convention of the party, Senator Biden said he will stand to uphold the ideals of the nation and resist forces of oppression and even those that seek to lead the country to the divisive path of racism. Before Senator Biden's speech, former President Barack Obama was also among the people that spoke during the convention. He criticized current President Donald Trump of the Republican Party for not leading the USA on the path of true democratic ideals and principles. Well, next week will be the convention of the Republican Party, and we expect to see President Donald Trump and his running mates and Vice President Mr. Mike Pence speak on their plans for the United States of America and if they win a second term. Some leaders, even from the Republican Party, have endorsed Senator Joe Biden, like Mr. Colin Powell, who was the former Secretary of State of the U.S. Under the administration of President George Herbert Walker Bush. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the build-up comes. We'll begin to see endorsements, alignments from politicians, celebrities, and key players across the globe. As we build up to these elections, we'll try to tell you and across the world why elections in the U.S. are very critical across the globe. We're in a globalized world, and U.S. is a very, very key driver. And anything that happens there, politically and economic-wise, has impact on the global economy. We'll take another breather, and when we return, we will go to the stretch to wrap up this edition.
When we first met, the first question I asked was,
Where have you been all my life?
Since then, we have taken every step together.
especially when the kids were schooling abroad. Oh, how we made it through those years.
When we shared the same passion,
The same drive.
and the same vision to succeed. Let's help you achieve your visions and aspirations, milestone by milestone. FCMB, my bank and I.
Welcome back. As we see the developments across the world in politics, we come again to raise the need for bipartisanship. That is important because where we don't have this kind of approach, it affects countries. As we've seen in the US several times, when there's no bipartisanship between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, it affects the economy, the government shuts down, and a lot of people lose income or face job crisis. The same in the UK, when both major parties like the Labour and Conservative do not agree on key issues that should drive or move the economy forward, it has the trickling down effect on the masses, on the citizens on the lower level of earning. And so the same applies to South Africa. If you have the ANC, the African National Congress, and other parties like the National Party, the NP, or even the recent EFF party. Where there is no consensus or bipartisanship, it also affects movement and growth in such climes. And then bring it down to Nigeria. The ruling party, the All Progressive Congress, and the major opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, where there's bickering and there's no alignment or bipartisanship approach to issues of national interest that will impact the economy and populace, it always has its adverse effects. And so this is a call again, politicians across the globe. We are in very, very interesting times. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted so much. Economies are beginning to show those signs, contractions. What we have already from the data and the analysis is that Japan, the industrialized Asian economy, is already in a recession, and then UK already, for the first time in 10 years, posted a recession. And so in this period of economic crisis, challenges, huge burdens on the public sector, the government, to really meet up with the obligation of citizens, I believe it's a time for politicians across the world to sit down and explore how they can work together, irrespective of party lines, to move their countries forward. The people need to get enabling policies that can get them back to jobs. They need to get back earning power and income to even navigate the crisis and impact of the pandemic. We need to see more investment in areas like healthcare and even education. We also need to see more investment in infrastructure that opens up the economy, connects the entire economies across the globe. We also need to see global trade taking a level of fairness where everyone can really be said to be included and not excluded. Also, stability is very important. You just saw what happened in Mali. The ruling party and opposition having challenges and crises, and the military waded in. So if we don't have more of bipartisan approach to resolving socio-economic crisis, we would continue to witness political instability, gridlocks in policies, which will have its adverse effects on citizens. This is a word to politicians across the globe, and we hope that we will see more of bipartisan approach to resolving issues, because at the end, it's about the citizens, not about the glory of a political party. And that will be a wrap for this week on Economy and Politics Show. It's been very interesting discussing and having engagement with stakeholders and analysts on developments around the economy and the political space. Please send your comments, especially for this week. What have you seen? What are those things you observed and you would like us to know? Send your views and comments to news@proshareng.com. Also join our website, www.proshareng.com, to watch our videos, read our news reports and analysis. Now, until we come your way again, this is to note that in every political economic debate or conversation you have, please make it constructive and productive. In Nigeria, sometimes it can get heated and abuses come in, which is not good. We don't need to fight. We need to engage effectively, constructively, and intellectually. Thank you for watching. It's been a nice week with you. We're looking forward to more interesting conversations next week. And watch out for our 10 a.m. edition of the Market Review as we wrap up the week, looking at the unlisted securities and developments there, where we connect the financial and capital market as it affects the economy. To come your way again, thank you for watching. Have a nice day and stay safe.